today's meeting, October 24, 2012, of the PDC Board of Commissioners. Gina, please call the roll.
Chair Andrews?
Here.
Commissioner Dixon? Absent. Commissioner Mullis?
Present.
Commissioner Straus?
Here.
Commissioner Wilhoite?
Here. Thank you all, and thanks for attending by phone, John. The first item today is just approval of the meeting minutes for September 12th and October 10th. Are there any changes, additions, comments on those meetings?
I just had one minor comment on page 7 of 12 regarding the selection of the team for the hotel project. It implies that the PDC Commission was involved in that selection, and I don't think any material was presented to us from either one of the participants. We're delighted with the project going forward, but I don't think that it was the PDC Commissioner's role to have any involvement in the selection of the team. So,
where are you?
Page 7 of 12, what would be sort of the third paragraph down.
I'm sorry, under your comments or under?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's it, very minor comment.
Okay.
Okay.
I do read the meeting minutes and.
Great. We'll make that change. John, anything?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. All right, with that change, I would look for a motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 12th, 2012 and October 10th, 2012.
So moved?
I wasn't present for the first set of minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other comments, changes, additions? If not, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We now have time for public comment on items not on the agenda. I don't have anyone signed up, so I want to make sure that we're covering our bases there. Nope. Great, so that we can move on to the regular agenda. Resolution 6977 and 6978. It's an action item approving the third amendment to the amended and restated River District Urban Renewal Plan, making public building findings for purposes of investing tax increment resources for development of a Multnomah County-owned building. Also authorizing a grant agreement with Multnomah County in an amount not to exceed $26,948,460 for purposes of constructing a county health department headquarters in the River District Urban Renewal area, pursuant to ORS 457.47010E. And welcome, Keith, and welcome, Chair Kogan.
Keith Witcosky, Deputy Director. I'll give you a very brief background, and then Chair Kogan from Multnomah County is here that can talk about the project, and Emerald Bogue from Project Manager in his office is here as well, who is deeply involved and working on it also. So you identified the two actions you have before you, authorization of the grant agreement and amending the third amendment to the amended and restated River District Urban Renewal area. The source of this arrangement began back in 2008 when PDC and City Council amended the River District Urban Renewal area and expanded it into Old Town Chinatown and increased the indebtedness. And as part of that, there was an agreement with Multnomah County to invest resources into a project that they would identify at a later date that would be TIF eligible, et cetera. That was eventually embedded into state statute in 2009, which essentially said that PDC would be responsible for providing $10 million by June 30th, 2014 and $16.9 million by June 30th, 2021. In the meantime, over the course of the last year, a partnership has developed with Home Forward, which was formerly the Housing Authority of Portland, who built and developed the Bud Clark Commons, with Multnomah County, with the Portland Housing Bureau, and with PDC for an investment in a 90,000 square foot, 6-story Multnomah County Health Department headquarters at the site that's adjacent to the Bud Clark Commons. So the action before you today would reflect that your desire to accelerate the payment of resources so that the entire $26.9 million occurs in June 2014, and then to amend the plan to make public building findings, because as you know, with urban renewal areas, you can't make an investment in a public building without specific findings associated with how that investment benefits the entire area. So your grant agreement action will be yours to take today. The amendment to the urban renewal area plan will move from you to City Council on October 31st and be voted on part of a broader set of agreements that are all tied to making sure that this project is completed and occupied in 2016. So that's the overview. I will hand it off to Chair Kogan to talk a little bit more about the project.
Thank you, Keith, and thanks for having me here today. That's really the really good background and context for this. The one thing I'd like to add to it is why it is that Multnomah County is interested in doing this and what the impact is and the steps that we've gone through to getting to this day. Multnomah County's Health Department headquarters and downtown clinic space is currently located on Southwest 4th and Stark in a building known as the McCoy Building. It's a 90-year-old building that was originally constructed as a department store and is frankly not well suited for clinical space or for a health department headquarters. It's very inefficient, it's very energy inefficient, but it's also very space inefficient. But perhaps the single biggest problem is it's seismically unsafe, and that is particularly problematic, not just for the 250 people who work in there, but because the health department headquarters is also the place in which we have our public health emergency planning and response team. In other words, the folks who will be responding to, for example, an earthquake are now in a seismically unreinforced building, obviously not particularly good planning. So we've known for quite a long time that we need to move that building. The challenge has been that, as you are well aware, Multnomah County has been fiscally in very tough times for quite a while. We've cut our general fund budget 12 years in a row. And even before that, previous boards had frankly disinvested in facilities for quite a long time because times had been tight before then. And so it had been a very long time that the McCoy Building, the current health department headquarters, had been identified as a place we needed to get out of. And a new health department headquarters had been desired, but there had been no suitable location or viable funding mechanism for that. With the changes that Keith just identified in the River District Urban Renewal area, a potential piece of the funding became available, and so we began to think about whether or not there was a viable location and one that worked well. When we found out through the city and through Home Forward that the Bud Clark Commons building had a half block available, we realized that that might really be a good fit for us. Partly a good fit for us because unlike most folks, the Multnomah County Health Department would be very excited to be next to the Bud Clark building because those are folks that we serve. But also because it's well located, centrally located, transit, it's well located in terms of the clients that we're serving, and for all of the employees who work in the building, it's very close to where we are now. It's approximately 6 blocks from the current location. We've spent the last couple of years doing, first of all, a feasibility analysis to make sure that the building that could be constructed would work for the purposes that we're talking about, and in fact it does. And then we've been involved in a very extensive public outreach involvement process where we've spoken with folks in the neighborhood, folks in the business community, folks in the service provider community, folks in the Pearl District as well as Old Town Chinatown, and we've received a very positive response. And I know that, frankly, siting facilities in the Old Town Chinatown neighborhood often doesn't. And I think one of the reasons is that we're a very compatible use. One of the reasons is we're going to be bringing 250 high-paying jobs into the neighborhood. And I think that that's mattered to folks. And one of the reasons is we've expressed a desire right from the get-go to work with the community to make this a community benefit, and it's been very well received. And so that's really the background of why this project is exciting for us. We very much appreciate your consideration of this. The acceleration of the funding in particular makes the project pencil out in a much more viable fashion for the county. The total project cost is about $38 million. The delta between what the TIF funding would be and the rest of it would be paid for by the sale proceeds from the existing McCoy building, as well as from county general funds. We believe that this is viable. We think it's a very good thing for the people we serve. We believe it's going to be a good thing for this community, and we very much appreciate our partnership with PDC and with the city in getting to this stage. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Before we go to questions, we do have one person who signed up to testify. Keith, why don't you give up your seat for Patrick Gortmaker, who is co-chair of the River District Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. Thanks for being here today, Patrick.
Oh, absolutely. Chair Andrews, Commissioners, Patrick, thank you for allowing me a few moments to discuss this opportunity. You know, the current proposal on the half block of Block U sits obviously between the Pearl District and Old Town Chinatown. Its impact and its type of development obviously can have a positive impact on both of our districts. We believe that the development of the Multnomah County headquarters on the remaining half block of Block U is a good thing for the neighborhood, not only to bring much needed and modernized services to the area, but the 250 jobs that are created in both the doctors, nurses, administrators that will be eating, shopping, and perhaps even living in the district, a very positive thing. As Chair Kogan stressed, communication on this is critical, and Chair Kogan and his staff back in December, even before about a year ago, started making the rounds in the neighborhood to get kind of a test feel. And other social services in Old Town Chinatown, is that really what they need? Well, it is another social service, but the Bud Clark Commons developed on the half block, we'd resigned ourselves to the remaining half block was going to be supportive low-income housing for Bud Clark Commons. So the agreement between Home Forward, PHB, and the county was a positive thing to see them move forward. We did have concerns that I put forth in my letter because they are moving on their opportunity to develop that low-income housing on that half block. When the economy does turn around and the funding is there, they will look forward to developing that somewhere. And we just want to make sure when we look at Old Town Chinatown specifically that, you know, our strive for that balance of housing to the more middle income and the student housing, workforce housing, that we're looking at those opportunities in Old Town Chinatown and not the half block of low-income housing that they're foregoing on that Block U. We think that this continued communication through a stakeholder advisory committee would be a very positive thing to make sure they serve an advisory capacity through the design and development of the project. Speaking of the design, there are a few things that we've stressed that is on a very important corridor along 6th Avenue to Union Station, so that design development step back needs to be honored and be sensitive. The development that can occur on Block R, the other PDC-owned block, will definitely be impacted by what goes on. And so we've stressed, you know, looking at ground floor active retail uses to really lend a positive effect on what could happen on Block R. And, you know, finally, we just really feel as a neighborhood, with the communication working with the county and Chair Kogan and his staff, that this will be a very positive development for the River District. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And thank you for your service on the advisory committee. I know it's sometimes worse than thankless.
Hazardous sometimes.
Hazardous, yes, could be hazardous. Keith. I just had a couple of questions and comments, one for the chairman. At one point, I was hearing that perhaps the McCoy building would have to be sold prior to this project getting off the ground, but I'm not hearing that today.
No, that's not the case. It doesn't need to be sold prior to getting off the ground. We'd be open to that possibility, although we'd still need to have the health department located there until this is constructed, but that's not a necessary precondition.
Okay. The $13 million, that's just for the seismic upgrades that would not remodel the building?
That's correct, for the McCoy building. That's what our estimate was for the seismic alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then lastly, the comment about the advisory committee. Are you planning on setting up something along that line?
We've agreed to that. We think that's very reasonable. Okay,
great. That's all I had. Commissioner Straus?
Well, spectacular project, and I think it's a great location. It's going to be a wonderful job. I'm not sure this is where the PDC should be making its investments, but I think it's a great way to support the county, and the county's been great in supporting the PDC, and we very much appreciate it. One minor question about the sale of the existing building. Have you identified a sale price, and have you got somebody that's ready to purchase the price? Is there any way the PDC can assist you? Is there any way the PDC can help redevelop that block for the city of Portland?
We have not yet identified a seller, a buyer. We have a prior assessed value, which a prior appraised value, which we believe is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $4 million. I don't know how current that is. It's a few years old. I've already had conversations with Director Quentin about the fact that we think that we could be working closely with PDC, not only in terms of redeveloping this, but on many county facilities. And so I look forward to developing those potentials, because I think that there's an awful lot of expertise that this organization has that my organization could benefit from.
Spectacular.
Great, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Chair Kogan, for coming in. I'll just kind of give a little more context for Commissioner Straus and everyone in the room. We had the pleasure of sitting next to each other going through the urban renewal update and growth process with regard to South Park Blocks, River District, and the downtown waterfront. And to address Commissioner Straus's comment, PDC is here honoring a commitment that we made through that process. So we're not really making the decision to invest in the building. We support the project. We appreciate the jobs. We understand the synergies provided by being next to the Bug Clark Commons. So from our perspective, we're honoring that commitment, and we're happy to do it because, as everyone knows, urban renewal is the use of funds that might otherwise go to the county and other taxing jurisdictions, and this was something that came out of that process that everyone was in support of. So happy to hear that we can advance the county's objectives, serve as continuing good partners with each other. And when you consider a $13 million seismic upgrade for a building versus getting a brand new one, I think it's just too logical to invest in a new building. So just wanted to put that out there for context and make the statement that we appreciate the partnership, we appreciate the open doors that we have with each other, and look forward to the successful development of that building.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. Commissioner Mullis?
I think I would just second several of the comments that the other commissioners have already made. I think it's these types of partnerships that we're all going to have to work on in the future to make these sort of projects go forward and be successful. So I know the county and the city and the PDC and Home Forward have all put a lot of time in on this. I think the location makes a lot of sense. I think it'll be a great project. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we handle these in one motion, or do I need to split them into two? Two separate, but under one motion. Okay, so I would look for a motion to approve Resolution 6977 and 6978, approving the third amendment to the amended and restated River District Urban Renewal Plan, making public building findings for purposes of investing tax increment resources for development of a Multnomah County-owned building, and authorizing a grant agreement with Multnomah County in an amount not to exceed $26,948,460 for purposes of constructing a county health department headquarters in the River District Urban Renewal Area pursuant to ORS 457.470-10E.
A new record, huh? So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing a hole in the ground.
So do we. Thank you very much. Appreciate your partnership.
Good luck.
Well, that is the agenda for PDC Commission Light. Thank you guys for changing your schedule, and look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. We're adjourned.
World record fast.